What's going on, people? Welcome to episode 2 of the Get a Bucket podcast with me, your host, Chris LeBron, and I'm joined by my co-host, my guy Kev. What's going on, brother?
Man, been busy. Can't complain though. College basketball is only, I think, today officially, I want to say it's 11 days out. Can't wait. I've been itching for the season to get back, and man, I'm ready to talk hoops again, man. How you been?
Man, I've been good. Just diving into all this college basketball stuff. Watch a bunch of the Field of 68. They've been doing a
Yep.
bunch of previews and stuff, and I just watched a few videos from the Pac-12 media day. So just getting ready, like you said, basketball season, college basketball season is right here around the block. What 10, 11 days out, and
Yep.
we'll get ready for tip off. And I think this is the last day without I think it's some crash on like that last day without we won't have basketball, till like March or something crazy like that. So,
Yep.
we getting into it, and we got a dope show for you. So we appreciate everyone who tuned into episode 1. Episode 1 went really well, got some positive reviews and all that. So, me and Kev, put the work in, and we ready to give you, another great episode of talking ball. We got a nice rundown for you guys. I think you guys are gonna enjoy this one. So, Kev, let's not waste any more time, bro. Let's get right into it, and let's get with our first topic of the day, and let's talk UCLA. And is UCLA the crown jewel of the Pac-12? Obviously, UCLA a few years back, Final Four, got some guys that they got some real talent in there, and they seem like they're destined to win the Pac-12 and all that. Got some competition, obviously Arizona, um, in particular, but it seems like they're definitely ahead of the class, the head of the table in the
Yep.
Pac-12. I think they're coming in at where are they ranked? They're ranked what, seventh? They're top 10 AP. I think
Yeah.
they're top 10 in the AP. I forgot exactly where, maybe seventh or something. Get exactly right. Yep, seventh. So they're seventh in AP and all that. So Kev, just you want to dive into UCLA a lot. So for you, what what stands out for UCLA for this season? Obviously, they got a lot of guys coming back and
Yep.
all that. But what for you in particular is making you feel in UCLA this year?
I think the biggest thing is that I'll be honest, they did lose a ton of talent, and I want to start by saying too, like when they first hired Mick Cronin in 2019, I was not high on that hire whatsoever. So like
No, you weren't.
I
Even with
was
this
not.
pedigree with Cincy, what is he?
I
Murray
was
State
not.
too.
I
Like
just
he's had a few good stops.
I just didn't see it. Like he's a good coach, and he's clearly proven that. Do not get it twisted. I just at the time I was just like, they were coming off Steve Alford, who was just like whatever. He could bring in talent, but he couldn't really maximize it like that. And I just thought they
Yeah.
needed a for sure guy that you can trust. And clearly, their whole entire school had faith in Mick Cronin, and it's been a home run hire ever since. And like you said, they got to the Final Four a couple years ago. Last year, they got to the Elite Eight, and people kind of just like wrote them off because they came into the season with all the hype and everything, and they get to the Elite Eight still, and they lose to a Carolina team who was the hottest team in the country at the time. You know what I'm saying? Caleb Love had a crazy performance in that game, and if not for that, they
Mm-hmm.
might have gotten back to the Final Four in back-to-back years, which is hella hard to do. But the thing that I like about them is that even though they did lose a ton of talent, Peyton Watson in the NBA with the Nuggets now, Jules Bernard in the league, Cody Riley's gone, Johnny Juzang is gone, Jake Kyman transferred out to Wyoming. They still bring back some guys that were on that Final Four team and, of course, on the Elite Eight team last year, like Tiger Campbell, one of the most calm, steady, consistent, and poised point guards in the country, in my opinion. Also, Jaime Jaquez could be a first-team All-American member, in my opinion. He's
Yep.
super talented, super good at 6'7", 6'6", do it all type of forward. And then the thing that I like about them the most is that the freshman class that they're bringing in, that they currently have on campus now, get familiar with the name of Dem Bona. If you don't know who that is, play at prolific
Big
prep,
man.
excuse me, last year. He's a beast. It's been crazy because I've seen a lot of people's draft boards on this upcoming 2023 NBA draft. For him not to be at least top 20 is kind of insane to me because that dude is a workhorse.
Mm-hmm.
Like his best skill is that he just plays hard, and that's something you can't teach. 24/7, he's running down the floor hella hard. He's playing, he's getting early post position, he's creating that space. Like he is a monster. And UCLA, since Mick Cronin's been there, they haven't really had a consistent front court player, and now they got one of the best luxuries that you can possibly have in a damn bone. And then of course you got Amari Bailey, who I think is going to fit in just nice as well. You also bring in one of my favorite players too from LA, Dylan Andrews, kind of an underrated
Yep.
point guard, 4-star. He's like 6'4", 6'5", is big body point guard. I think playing behind Tiger Campbell is going to do him justice, especially not just for this year, but in the long run as he starts to, become a leader. And to me, like they just have it. Like David Singleton, knockdown shooter, Mackie Tierney's from your ends, really good, solid, should be a backup big for them. And then Kenneth Nwuba should be, next to Bonus should be that main guy. So I love what this team has. Like you mentioned, the Pac-12 is kind of whatever this year, but Arizona is going to be down to their standards for, what they've
Yeah.
been.
They,
Of course,
they
last
lost a
year.
lot.
Yeah, they lose. Yeah, they lose. 4 NBA players, I think, something like that. So it's hard to
Yeah.
recover from that. Oregon should get back. USC should be solid, but to me, I think UCLA is clearly the best team in the Pac-12 this year.
I don't think it's close. Like you said, the Pac-12 is kind of down. Pac-12 lost a lot of talent, and just UCLA, like you hit it on the head with everything. They have a nice combination of youth and some vets, and if Jaquez is healthy and ready to go, like that's huge. He can score, and he's someone who's dabbled in the put his name in the NBA circuits, and so his name's been floating around though that as a potential draft pick. He's someone that could be there. So they have a good blend. And what did we talk about last show? Point guard
Exactly.
play, and that's what they have. That is that dude. So and then you add Amari Bailey, like I've heard a lot of people say, well, he's overrated. I think people just especially with the Sierra Canyon guys, like the exposure, obviously, because Bronny's there and LeBron. So people like tend to call those guys overrated and stuff. And that's just simply not true. He could play, and he's going to be a perfect fit for them. And you said Bona too, like he's what, 7 foot. I mean, this dude is a beast. And they didn't get a crazy big recruiting class, but sometimes it's not even about how quantity, it's about quality. And they got 3 quality dudes who they got that are going to be able to help them right away. So that's why this UCLA, I mean, they have number 1 seed written all over them because their schedule is going to be fairly, because like we said, the Pac-12 is down. So they should be in that high 20s to 30s with a number 1 seed if everything goes right, health, right? We don't know. But what they've been able to do there the last few years. I mean, listen, they lose the Final Four, right? That was to Jalen Suggs hitting that crazy, buzzer beater. Exactly. I mean, they're a buzzer beater away from getting to the Natty.
Yep.
And then you said, they lose to UNC last year, who went to the national championship. So it feels like we're getting back to UCLA being one of those upper echelon programs.
1,000%.
Yeah, and that's good. That's always good for basketball, especially when you have those schools. But when you mentioned Mick, coming there from Cincy, I obviously that was, he's kind of been in that like middle tier coach, like a Buzz Williams, like those coaches like that, like those coaches that like they're good. They're definitely going to improve your program, but can they take you to that next level, right? And that he was probably in that category because he did good things at Cincy. He definitely did good things at Cincy, but it was like, okay, can he take it to the next level? And that's probably why you weren't maybe crazy about that hire for UCLA, but he's in 3 years, he's done a solid job there. Just said Final Four, Elite Eight, and now that he's favorite in the Pac-12. So they're in prime position to do really special things this year. And I'm really looking forward to see. But like I said, they should take advantage of being in the Pac-12 that's going to be down this year. So like I mentioned, how many guys did Arizona lose? Dylan Terry, Mathurin, like they lost a bunch of dudes.
Koloko,
Koloko, yeah, I didn't even mention Koloko, who went to Toronto. So like they lost some dudes. Oregon lost some guys. So it's theirs. It's theirs to win. Like I don't see anyone really giving them serious competition. Do you? Is there anyone else in the Pac-12 that you'd be like, okay, they could give UCLA a little run?
Honestly, no. Like sometimes, most years, I want to say USC, but I'll be honest. Like Andy Enfield, he gets a lot of talent but he
Yeah.
never really maximizes it. Like outside of the Evan Mobley year when they went to the Elite Eight and lost to
Mhm.
Gonzaga, like he's
Yeah.
had plenty of talented teams, but he just hasn't really done anything with it. And Evan Mobley that year was the one exception. Like you got to give him credit for that because they beat I think Kansas and a
Mhm.
couple other really good teams, but
Yeah.
I don't really see it with them. Like I think next year they'll be good, but like this year, to me, UCLA should win comfortably. In my opinion, they should win by at least 3 to 4 games.
Yeah, they really should take care of business. But we're definitely going to be interesting to see how things go out there. But they're in prime position. Like I'm really, really, really interested to see how Bailey how performs. He like I said, he's been in the spotlight for a while and all that. But to see him, at UCLA, in position to start and all that, and he's going to learn. Like you said, he's going to be paired up with Tiger. Who's what, a senior,
Yep.
and just has so much experience and all that. And I think that's why I like teams that have that balance of youth and that veterans, those upperclassmen. Because to me, that's kind of the formula you need to win or at least get deep into it. And like last week we talked about a lot of the young teams like Duke and all that, like who are super young. Like they have Roach, but that's probably their only vet. Everyone else is just freshmen and all that. And though that's why probably people are scared for Duke this year. But you see UCLA, man, and if they're healthy, definitely should be a team that we're talking about in going to the Final Four for sure. And the next
And,
schedule too is going to help them too.
and one more name too that I forgot to mention. I can't even leave him. I can't even leave him out because that would be foolish. I think he's the key for them. Jalen Clark. Everybody
Yes,
watching him,
yes, yes. And he
watch
was a
him.
big time recruit coming in last year.
Yes, a couple years ago, and he, to me, he's the key. As I mentioned, like do it all type of guy. Like whenever Johnny Juzang and Jaime Jaquez were like injured or whatever, he would step in
Mhm.
and they would not skip a beat whatsoever. So I really think this is the year that he takes off. He should have a much bigger role. Should be a starter, and I think he's going to take that and run with it. Content Magic kid went to Corona Centennial, which is a powerhouse out there, of course, in
Mhm.
the IE. But I think that's the biggest key for them this year, Jalen Clark.
Yeah, he's going to be a key for them too. Yeah, I forgot about him. He like I said, a few years ago he was a top recruit and
Yep.
kind of got lost in the shuffle a little bit. But and obviously they lost some guys. Peyton Watson, like I say, that's not really much of a loss because he averaged 3 points a game last year. So like,
Yeah. It was a weird fit. Yeah.
it was a weird fit because like obviously the talent was there, but it's just like you never saw him. And I think if he was if he was what they expected, maybe there's different results last year.
Mhm.
But like I said, they lost some guys, but to be able to get some guys back and then add some of the top 5 stars they added in this recruiting class. I think good things should be happening for them because they have the squad. They definitely have the squad for sure to do some really special things out there. So very interested to see how they work out out in the Pac-12. It's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to watching them. So let's get right into the next topic. We're gonna head back to the My Coast. We're gonna head to, what we're gonna talk about the Big East and some of the coaches. Some new coaches are and obviously we talked about some of that on the first episode we did. Obviously Kyle Neptune stepping in and becoming the new head man and Villanova taking the place of Jay Wright. But we got some new names in the Big East. We got Sean Miller, who people know from Arizona. Have had some things over there, with the
Some.
paying. I think right, it was with the whole DeAndre Ayton stuff, right? I think paying him or whatever, and
Yep.
some things over there. But you got Sean Miller, he's taking over Xavier. I think he was there previously. No, was he there? Was an
Yeah.
assistant or
Yep. No,
yeah?
he
So
was there. They just weren't in the Big East
he
at the time, though. Yep.
yeah. They were in the A10, right?
I
Were
believe
they in the
so. Yep.
A10? Yeah. Obviously Shaheem Holloway, Seton Hall, what he did at St. Peter's. I mean, that was special. He's going back to where he played ball, and they got a nice little squad. Thad Matta going to Butler. He hasn't coached since Ohio State in 16-17 or 17-18, if I
Been a few
recall.
years. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while. He's obviously had the biggest layoff. Had some success at Ohio State. You know, people remember him. You know, he was with Greg Oden and Mike Conley. That was his recruiting class. They went to they went to the Natty right that year. They went to the national championship that year. So he's had some success. But obviously it's been a while since he's coached. So we got some and obviously Cal Neptune take at Villanova. So those four names for you, Kev. Let's kind of rank them. Let's rank them from toughest job to, I
Hmm.
shouldn't say easiest, but let's go from toughest to I guess the easiest job. And who has the toughest gig from the jump out of those four coaches,
Whew.
and kind of rank them from toughest all the way to the lowest.
I think toughest is definitely Kyle Neptune. You're trying to step into a place where you got a first ballot Hall of Famer, a dude that's been to, I think, what, 3 of the last 6 Final Fours or something like that. Like, that's a tough job. Jay Wright was a hell of a coach. He's an all-timer, did his thing, 2 national championships that can never be discredited. And he went out, going to a Final Four this year. So you got to give him his credit for that. So I think Kyle Neptune definitely has the toughest. After that, I'm going to go Sean Miller at Xavier because even though he's been there, of course, and he's had success there, and of course, he kind of built his name at Xavier,
Mm-hmm.
they're dying to get back to the tournament. Like Chris Mack
Yeah.
was really good for them. Of course, he ended up leaving, going to Louisville. And then with Travis Steele, like I had a lot of faith in Travis Steele, but he could just never put it together. Like he would get the talent. They had Paul Scruggs for all them years. And come February, come March, it was like they were playing hot and then they would just fall off a cliff. And then they wouldn't make the tournament. And so I think the COVID year kind of messed them up a little bit too, because they were destined to make the tournament that year, but he just couldn't get over the hump, and so they parted ways with him. And that's a real fan base out there. Like that's a real passionate fan base out there. Like I
Yep.
really want to go to Xavier in Cincinnati to go see the city in general because you can just tell they have some of the craziest fans out there
Mm-hmm.
in Ohio. And I think Xavier is to me, it's one of the best jobs in the country because the talent is there. The talent is always there. And it just
Yeah.
takes a solid coach just to really get there and build up his name, and he can just leave and go to an even better job. But I think Sean Miller should be super successful there. But I think it is going to be tough because they want to get back to the tournament. 3, I'll definitely go Butler. Dad Mata, he's in a good position because even though he wasn't coaching, word around there is that he was actually still around the program, but just kind of like as an advisor role type. He wasn't coaching,
Mm-hmm.
of course, but he was around. He was seeing the talent. He was seeing the things that was going on, behind closed doors. So he kind of knows his team. And I think, honestly, like, aside from like Providence, UNLV, you can make a case Butler had the best transfer portal class in the country. Like bringing in Manny Bates from NC State, Jalen Thomas is really good from Georgia State. I think Ali is going to be a big time player for them. Like they brought in some dogs, so I think that amount is probably right there. And then the last one, Shaheem, man. Like personally, that's who I have the most faith in, just because he's been there, he's done that, he knows what it takes. He was on Kevin Willard's staff as an assistant for a little bit of time before he took the St. Peter's job. He's now back home, and Seton Hall has a really good squad this year. And I think, him being from out there, not Jersey, but he's from New York originally, of course. I don't want to get that
Yeah.
misinterpreted. He's
Yeah,
going to know
man.
how to recruit.
Those fighting
Yeah,
words, man. Those fighting words.
exactly. So exactly. I already know, trust me. But he knows how to recruit. He's gonna be fine. I think, honestly, like, to me, I think he's gonna be better than his predecessor, Kevin Willard, if I'm being honest with you. Like, I think he's gonna be
No.
better. Kevin Willard is gonna be fine at Maryland, but he never had that real tournament success like that. And I think Shaheen should be fine. Of course, he just came off an Elite A at St. Peter, so I can only imagine what he's gonna do at Seton Hall back home.
We got Kadari there too, man. Kadari is a baller. Kadari is a baller.
Man,
So that's a good piece to start off with, to having a player like that. And I think he can maximize him, because
I
I felt
agree.
like watching Kadari last year, like he was someone that I was like, yo, I feel like he has NBA potential and all that. And you saw flashes,
Yep.
but I think Shaheem can get all that out of him. Like he can do it on both ends of the ball too. So he's someone I'm really looking for. I think he can. It wouldn't surprise me if at the end of the year he's in the running for Big East Player of the Year, or definitely first team, because to me, I remember just being like, yo, I love this dude. I think he's better than what we saw. The consistency wasn't there, and I felt like he needs the right coach, and then boom, they give him Here comes
Mhm.
Shaheen. It's like,
Yep.
yeah, there wasn't a player in the country I was more excited for than Kadari. I was like, yes, yes, people are going to see because I put draft people on. I'm like, yo, I know you have him outside your top. I'm like,
Yeah.
and I feel like he even if he did stay or wanted to go to the draft, I felt like he was someone that would be on a roster right now. But I'm excited. So I'm just gonna give you some push. Like I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna tell you some of the negatives and see how do you feel they can overcome that, because some of these coaches, not that they some have some baggage
Yep.
like Sean Miller and all that, but some are gonna have some transitions because coming from small schools and now you're going to a bigger school. So let's start with that mod. Obviously Butler. I think the biggest thing for him is he's been away. Yes, he's probably been around the program, but he hasn't been on the sidelines, right? He hasn't been on the court. It's been a while. So do you think he can adjust? Because that's been the thing is, what, 2017 is the last time he coached? That's a long time. And then Kev, the game is there's
Change.
NIL, there's a whole
Yep.
transfer portal. The game has changed. So that's the one thing I kind of would worry with him in particular is the adjustment with being away for those 5-6 years, having to deal with NIL and dealing with the transfer portal and all that. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, and that's super valid. I can't even go against that because I agree. That to me, that's going to be the biggest thing, especially because let's be honest, he's up in age, and I was honestly surprised when the news
He's an older
broke.
cat. He's an older cat.
Exactly,
He's an older
and I,
cat.
I was surprised when they came out and said that they were going to hire him, in place of LaVar Jordan, who of course they fired, which I thought was wrong, by the way. But
Yeah, yeah.
um, again, that's the biggest thing. You got to be able to, like, when you're a coach in college, like, it's so much different than the NBA. Like NBA, when your season's over, you can go vacation. You gonna do a little scouting with the draft and different things like that. But for the most part, you know what your roster is gonna be next season.
Exactly.
College,
100%.
it's nonstop. As soon as the season's over, not only do you have to again recruit players that you're trying to get to your program, you got to re-recruit your whole roster. You got to dive into the transfer portal a little bit. You got to understand, dudes' wants and needs. Like it's a 24/7
It
commitment, and I
really
hope
is,
that
man. It
he
really
doesn't get
is.
overwhelmed with that because again, like you mentioned, it's a complete different ball game now. Like dudes are committing to these schools. Some won't say it, but some are committing strictly just because of NIL. And there's different reasons to every single, student
Mhm.
athlete. Like you can't just pin it on, certain things, but that's just how the game is right now. And people are chasing the money more than ever, which is fine to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But that matter it's weird because out there, like hoops is historic out there. That's the number one thing in Indiana. Like
Of
they pride
course, bro.
their basketball over
Love them.
everything. And of course, you got Indiana with Mike Woodson, you got Purdue with Matt Painter, and now Thad's stepping into this position again. Like this is a team that in the program that's trying to get back to that NCAA tournament, and they're consistently good. They had the Kamar Baldwin days. He was a dog, so it's gonna be tough. I'm very curious, just like you. I'm curious to see how he works it all out, but that's gonna be the biggest issue. I don't really get concerned with the on the court stuff. It's more so the off the court stuff, and that's gonna be the biggest key. Like you said, adjusting. That's all it comes down to.
Yep. And like you said, man, coaching in college that's a 24/7 gig, man. Because remember,
Mhm.
you're dealing with kids. You're dealing with young kids who, and you're dealing with egos. Like I know we got egos in the NBA, but that's stuff. A lot of it's money and all that. But now you got kids who were the dudes in high school. A lot of these kids were probably the guy in their high school, in whatever state, whatever county, whatever. They were the dudes. You got to deal with that, and you got to re-recruit. You recruited these guys, and then you got to recruit them still because you got to make them feel good. Well, this guy didn't play. Oh, I want to go in the transfer portal. So yeah,
Yep.
that's a big thing. So I think that's something Dad's gonna have to figure out. All right, let's go to Shaheen. Obviously, St. Peter's. He went to Seton Hall legend and all that, so he's coming back home. But that comes pressure, right? And that comes a lot of pressure. And we've seen this before with players who go back to their alma mater and they don't have the success. Like we're seeing it with Penny, right? Penny's kind of, we
Yeah.
saw with Danny Manning. No, not Danny Manning. Who was the other guy I'm thinking of? I forgot his name, but
Chris
we've
Mullin,
seen
one of
this.
them. Yeah.
Chris Mullin, yeah. The Chris Mullin at St. John's. We've seen it, and everyone thinks, oh, you get the name, right? You get the name and
Yep.
all that, and it's gonna work and all that. And then, you know, a couple years later, they're getting fired and all that. So for me, that's the one thing I kind of worry is just the pressure. I think because the Cinderella, it was great what he did last year, right? The team,
Yep.
that underdog team, the underdog, but now everyone knows who he is. Everyone know it, and now he's at a bigger school and all that, and now the pressure to win is going to be a lot. It's the Excel. They're gonna they gave him money. They want to win.
Yeah.
So that's probably the one thing I kind of worry. How do you feel about Shaheem going to a bigger program, going to his alma mater now, and now coming with that expectation? And like I said, we've seen this before where players go back to their schools and it doesn't really translate. So for me, that's kind of what I worry about for him. How do you feel about that?
Kind of like I said earlier, like I think he's gonna have the biggest. I think he's gonna have the smoothest transition just because of, like you said, him being there, him understanding what it takes. And again, like it was a long time ago when he played. Like I think he took him to the Sweet 16. I want to say in 2000, if I'm not mistaken. And that's a long time ago. I was 1 year
Yeah,
old at that time, and like
2000. I was not. What was that? 10? Yeah, I was 10. I was young.
exactly. So the thing with me though is, as I mentioned, like him being on the coaching staff with Kevin Willard a couple years ago, kind of showing him the ropes. And like, if we're being honest, Seton Hall might be the toughest job in the Big East right now because recruiting kids to come respectfully to South Orange, New Jersey, it's not really. It's not.
It's not
I've
easy.
never been there personally. I'm not. I'm not hating by any means, but I'm just being honest. Like, it's a
Recruiting in the tri-state area, period, is tough especially for
exactly.
men's basketball. Very tough.
Exactly. And most kids from out there want to leave because rightfully so, they want to experience other things, which you should. Everybody should leave their hometown. But my thing is that you look at the roster they have. You mentioned Kadari Richmond. I think he's on breakout watch just because for the simple fact that Kevin Willard was good. Again, I don't want to sit here and down Kevin Willard, but Shaheen was an actual point guard. He knows what it's like to be on the floor and to, point
Exactly.
things out and to lead guys. And I think Kadari is going to have a dude that he can really connect with. And then my biggest thing with them this year, like to me, Seton Hall is the most slept on team in the Big East. I think they should be a top 4 team in the Big East. They should
I
make the
agree.
tournament. And when you look at the rest of the roster, like Trey Jackson, Tyree Samuel, and Alexi Yedna are all 6'9" plus guys that can defend, stretch the floor and shoot threes, and play in the post. Like that's super valuable. And they bring in a plethora of ACC transfers between Alamir Dawes from Clemson, knockdown shooter, Dre Davis from Louisville, another really good player, and Femi Odukale, I believe is how you say his name too, from Pitt. And they bring in Casey Ndefo from St. Peter's, who was the most important defensive player on that St. Peter's team. Like he's just a monster. I think his game, kind of how I talked about Adem Bona earlier, like he's not 6'11", 7 feet and big as hell, but he just plays hard all the time. And I think that's why they're going to be successful, man. They just have pieces. And I think Tay Davis, another name to watch out for. He is the younger brother of Dre Davis. They're both from Naptown. Shout out to Indianapolis. He's going to be a player too. 6'9", 4, can play on the wing, can play in the post. He's going to be a problem too. But again, I just think that even though he went there and the expectations are super high, like you said, he's coming off an Elite Eight appearance at St. Peter's, which a lot of people couldn't even tell you what city St. Peter's is in. He should be fine. I truly believe he has the right staff, in my opinion. Again, being from there should make the transition super easy for him. He's going to know how to recruit. To me, like, if I'm being honest, I think he has the best path to success out of all these guys. Like, not just year one, but just like 5 years down the line, we're going to look at Shaheen like, yeah, this was a perfect home run hire for Seton Hall.
Yeah, and I think he's going to tap into that New York, New Jersey market and get those kids to stay there. A lot of those kids aren't going to St. John's, they're not going. I wouldn't even consider Syracuse to be in local. That's more like it's closer to Canada than it is to New York. But like to get that market back, because to me, the tri-state we're dying to have like that team. Like St. John's is supposed to be that, but they haven't. Like we've like you said, we had Chris Mullen and be like, oh, okay, maybe didn't work. It's very hard to tap into the New York, New Jersey market and get those kids to stay. If there's a dude that can do that,
it's Shaheen.
It's Shaheen. Like, yeah. And like you said, Kadari is a Brooklyn boy. Yep. So like Shaheen's from New York, he's from Queens. Like he gets those players. And I think that's very important, is getting those type of players and understanding that New York type of point guards and all that, and how they work. So I think he's going to be able to. And if he shows success with Kadari, makes Kadari like a first round pick and all that, like there hasn't been a lot of New York City point guards that have been able to go to the league in a while. It's been a minute. He could tap into that New York City market, and that's what I've been dying for. That those kids stay locally and all that. So I think he could do him, but I have faith in him. But that's probably the one I'm just worried. I don't want the pressure to be too much that they expect that he's coming in and they're gonna be top 25 right away. Like everything's gonna be a process. He's got to be able to recruit his own guys, establish that culture. But I trust that he'll be able to do it, and I'm looking forward to him doing that. All right, let's go to Sean Miller. Obviously, Sean Miller. He has a very nice resume, won some games with Arizona and all that. But obviously the whole stuff with Ayton, with the money and all that, and how he ended his tenure at Arizona wasn't exactly great. But I think he could do. I think this is a stopgap. I think this is a stopgap. I think he is a. He's gonna want to eventually get it a big. I think he's gonna do well. I think he's gonna do well. I actually think he could recruit like hell. Yep. He's a tremendous recruiter, and now you got NIL, and we know he likes money. So I think that's perfect fit. I saw someone say that. I'm like, I agree with that. I forgot where I saw it, but I'm like, this might. And I was like, okay, he's like Xavier and all that. Maybe I think he may be able to have this team going in a few years, where we're talking about them, with UConn and Seton Hall and Creighton as the top dogs out in that conference. I think I don't have too much worry. I think he's got the easiest path to having the most success for me personally. Obviously, it's all the other baggage that hopefully he doesn't let that get in the way of it. But I think Sean Miller's got a good gig, and I think he's going to do some good stuff at Xavier. I think recruiting, NIL, all that's to his favor. So I think he's going to do well.
I agree with you. To me personally, my only issue with him, and these are two completely different things, but I just have to say this, is that he didn't really live up to the expectations at Arizona. Arizona, they have high expectations. They're a legendary program. Shout out to Lou Olson and all the guys they produced, Mike Bibby, Gilbert Arenas, Andre Iguodala, the list. But he didn't really accomplish that much. Like, he didn't make it to a Final Four that much or ever. I think he has maybe one or two Elite Eights or whatever, but he had talent, and he never maximized it. But the thing that I like about him at Xavier, and this is where I kind of got to disagree with you, I think if he's smart, he should never leave Xavier. Like, this is where he should finish his career, because personally, I'm under the impression, like, I understand dudes that are at quote-unquote mid-majors. Xavier's not a mid-major, but I understand dudes that are at them mid-majors and decide to go and take a bigger job because the money. I get it. But when you have a certain amount of success, it's like, why leave? Especially when you kind of built it up. And again, Xavier, they've got the foundation, they've got the roots, they've got the talent, they got the fan support, they got everything. That's why I think it's a perfect job. And so he shouldn't really have any.
Even before they were in the Big East, they weren't your traditional mid-major. Like, they were 2 seeds of future. Like, they were legit. Like, they were Gonzaga-esque and the East Coast version, like, in a way, because they weren't just a regular mid-major,
And they're kind of like Dayton in the same state. Like, it's a good program that's always solid, and that's what you want. And Sean Miller, with less expectations than at Arizona, he should thrive. And they have a good talent too. Like, Kobe Jones, I think, is on a breakout watch this year. He's an NBA player, in my opinion. Adam Kunku, I seen Zach Fremantle got suspended for a little bit of time, but I think he's back in practices. Jack Nungy, they have players. Cam Kraft, they're high on as a freshman. Same thing with Desmond Claus. So, like, he's always been able to recruit, and now he's in a talented Big East where, again, the expectations are much less lower than at a place like Arizona. So that's why I think he should just stay there, because he can turn Xavier back into a powerhouse, in my opinion. Like, that's the biggest thing with me, is that you're at a place where, you might have had a little baggage before, but clearly your administration didn't really care that much. And if they did their homework, they did their background check, and they said, okay, like, we can deal with this. And they got through it. And so now I'm looking at it like, he's at a perfect spot, man. Like me, if I was a coach, which I do want to get into coaching one day, like if I was a D1 coach, I would love to coach at Xavier just because of all the resources that they have, man. And so to me, I think Sean Miller should be fine as long as he just keeps his nose clean, which shouldn't be that hard anymore because you're legally allowed to drop bags now, not necessarily between the player and the coach, but it's companies in Cincinnati in the city that are gonna support your squad. So keep your
Yeah.
nose clean, Sean Miller, and you're gonna be fine, bro.
Isn't it crazy how he got in trouble for giving someone money? Now, like that's everything's college basketball is about. Who's giving out the most money now? Isn't it crazy? And that's just a few years ago.
Yep.
DeAndre was what 4 years ago?
2018, 2017, 2018.
2018.
Yep.
So what? So it wasn't that long ago. So it's like it's
Yep.
crazy how just in a few years, boom, the whole college basketball landscape has changed. But I think he'll be all right. And maybe he should stay there, if he's success. But he's in a good program too. Like Xavier is no slouch. Like they have done a lot of good things. So let's go to the last one, Kyle Neptune. Obviously, he's at Villanova. We talked about it last on the first episode about him, so we won't go too into it. But for me, obviously, it's the one thing you worry about is he's taking the place of a legend.
Yep.
So can he put his imprint? And the same thing we talked about with John Shire taking, with Coach K. Like those shoes are huge shoes to fill. Jay Wright, 2-time national championship. He's done especially the last 5 to 7 years. Like Villanova, like he was one of those coaches. Like, oh, is he ever going to do it? Is he ever going to win a national champion? And then boom, wins national championships and all that, and shows that why he was, he was always one of the best coaches in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, I think that's the number one thing for Kyle Neptune is, just can he fill those shoes? Can he fill those shoes? Got a good recruiting class. Got that, Cam Whitmore. Like that's a good start.
Yep.
And again, got some good. But that's probably the one thing. That's probably the what you probably worry about is can he fill in those shoes? And if things go south, they're not exactly. They haven't exactly recruited crazy like that until they did have maybe their best recruit they've had in a long time. But that's probably the one thing is that I maybe worry about is can he fill in those shoes? Same thing I worry about John Shire do. Can he fill in those shoes? Does they have big shoes to fill in?
And my thing with that is too, again, you said we touched on it the last episode, so I'm not gonna get too deep. It's just that with him, to me, it's not even about filling those shoes. It's about kind of paving your own way, but keeping that Villanova culture intact.
Exactly.
I think he'll be fine with that. And like lastly too is just like I said this. I think I said this on the first podcast, but to me, I always give first-year head coaches a 3-year window to get their own recruits, lay their foundation, understand their direction, get going in the right direction. And so I think that year 3 is going to be, key for him because again, like Jay Wright helped you get Cam Whitmore and Mark Armstrong, and he brings you back some really good players like Eric Dixon and Brandon Slater. You lose Gillespie, but Justin Moore is going to be healthy, hopefully sometime around New Year, and Big East play before that, hopefully, God willing. But that couple years down the line when he has to really start recruiting his own players, that's going to be the biggest thing for him. So, but right now he should be fine.
Yeah, he should be fine right now. And like I said, big shoes to fill in, and we'll hopefully, I'm sure he's gonna have success there. He'll be all right. Villanova's, they established that culture, and like I said, you got to give them first-year coaches, no matter what school they go to. You got to give them time to establish their own identity. That's going to be the biggest thing. Is like you mentioned, he's not Jay Wright. John Shire is not Coach K. You need time. I know those fan bases might be impatient at first. If they're, look what we did. Like we hired the wrong. Like, they should have hired this guy. Got to be patient. Got to let them go through their own recruiting cycle. Because that to me, that's always been the fair thing. Any coach they get to do gig, you got to give them a full recruiting cycle.
Yep.
Before you can, after 4 years, then you can be like, okay, are we up? Or are we steady? Then you can make your decisions. So it's going to be process, but I think he'll be fine. He'll be fine. So, all right, that's the biggest. And I think on the next episode, we got to dive into Big East because the Big East, especially Creighton. Oh my God, Creighton, man. That's that guy. We might have to have an episode on them because man, that team is
stacked.
You understand why they're good, and that's. I think we just figured out what our next pod's gonna be because we would dive into them because that they're. It's crazy how they shifted in because they got us. They're There's not because they're a good story and all. They're legit good. They're deep and all. But we'll tap into that next time. We're gonna tap into because that's probably we could talk about it for like a half hour because they that good, and I'm really high on them. All right, so let's get right into our next topic, and we're gonna talk about the Big 12 and just who we think are the top dogs out in the Big 12 and this conference. I think Ken Palm had them as the last 7 out of the last 10 years have been the best conference, and obviously last year national championship with Kansas and the year before Baylor, so they've obviously sat there and they've been stacked, and just to go through the top 10, starting from 10 up, you got K State, West Virginia, Iowa State, Oklahoma, Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, TCU, Texas, Kansas, and Baylor, who's projected to win the Big 12. And for me, with Baylor, Baylor lost a lot of talent.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of talent. But I'm just going to say one guy's name, and that's all that matters. That's Keontae George. So that's why I think Baylor. I don't got to say anything more, bro. Like Keontae George, and he's a name that, obviously we know it's Wemby and it's Scoop. But, and you hear, okay, be one of the Toms from the overtime, or it's or one of the Arkansas dudes. Keontae might be number 3, man. I think him alone makes up for a lot of their losses. Kendall Brown, Sochan, Akinci from, he's with the Knicks in Westchester.
Yep.
Like they lost talent, but Matthew May, right? Did he transfer?
Illinois.
He transferred.
He's at Illinois now. Yep.
He's at Illinois now. So they lost talent, but Keontae George, LJ Cryer, like they still got some dudes there. So, but to me, Keontae George, man, that's what I'm saying. That's why I have them over Kansas. Like Kansas has talent. They lost a lot of guys too, but I really like Baylor a lot. So for you, who's king out in the Big 12?
See, this was tough for me, man. The reason I brought this up to you is because personally, like, I'll be honest, I think the Big 12 is the best conference in the country. Like, and I think it's been like that since Trae Young's year. I think that was
seven. Like they have 10 teams in the league, right? So people get confused that they only got 10 teams in the Big 12, and the Big 12 is going to look a lot different because Oklahoma and Texas are going to the SEC. So it's going to look different in a few years, and hopefully it's still around because that's another thing. It kind of like may go through that Big East phase where they're away, get rebranded and all that. So we'll see, but they legit could get 6-7 teams coming out of this conference, and that's pretty good for a 10-team conference. So you get 7 teams. That's pretty good.
And with that, you just mentioned it. Like they're going to lose Texas and Oklahoma. For most conferences, that would be a huge loss to the overall perspective of the conference. But they're going to bring in Houston, and if y'all know me, Houston is one of the best programs in the country easily. And I think Kelvin Sampson, you can make a case as the best coach in the country. So they're going to lose Texas and Oklahoma and bring in a better program that's more established in the current landscape of college basketball. But with that, answering your original question, I wanted to go TCU so badly because
I know, me too. Oh, it hurt so much. And you know what? I have them personally. I think they're better. I think they're number 2. I think they're better than Kansas.
Yeah, so I really want to go with them with Mike Miles, Eddie Lampkin. I'm a huge fan of Damian Ball, who transferred over last year from Memphis. They have the pieces. Jamie Dixon, this is one of the most talented rosters he'll probably ever have down there in Fort Worth. But I'm going to go with Baylor too, just because, like, you mentioned Keontae George. Like, it's crazy because I watched him, probably about 3 years ago, not even knowing who he was at the time. He was playing for Drive Nation out in the DFW area, big-time AU program on the EYBL. And he was playing with Jordan Walsh, who, of course, is a big-time freshman for Arkansas this year.
Arkansas.
And they were killing. And, again, I didn't even watch this knowing or intentionally trying to look at them play, but he was just going stupid. And this dude, man, special talent, can score from anywhere, 3-level scorer, can get to his pull-ups at any time from the three-point line, from the mid-range, super athletic, getting to the rack. And his best trait is probably not even his defense, but his ability to pass the ball as a shooting guard is rare. Like super rare. And the one concern I do have with them, I'll be honest though, is that they don't really have a true point guard like that. Like Adam Flagler is kind of like a combo. He's more so of a scorer. LJ Cryer, he can be that. I think he probably will be that. Again, you mentioned losing to Kenjo was kind of big, but I think LJ Crowder's going to step into them shoes. Dale Bonner's back. He's kind of like the same thing. He can run the floor at times, but he's more so of a scorer. You bring back Flo Thamba. You bring back Jonathan Chamwa Chachua, who had that big time nasty injury last year, but he is a force for them. Big time player for them. Jalen Bridges comes over from West Virginia, 6'7" wing that can stretch the floor, knock down shots, can guard guards and bigs. And they bring in Caleb Lohner from Flower Mound, Texas originally, went to BYU before transferring last year. So, to me, again, that lack of point guard play is concerning me. And y'all know, we value point guard play over here at Get a Bucket. But I just love what Scott Drew has done, man. With that program, how far he's come, all the assistant coaches that have come through and left, and he still just has that solid foundation. He's getting, the best players that he's never really had a chance at getting at before. Now he's bringing them to Waco, Texas, which I think is in the middle of nowhere, if I'm being honest with you. So
It really is, yeah.
So I got to go with the Baylor Bears, man. As much, again, I wanted to go TCU. I kind of looked at Texas Tech a little bit with Mark Adams, but their point guard play is too suspect for me to believe in them. I know Fardall's AMAC is kind of hurt right now. Kansas, I just think it's a transition year. They just won a national championship.
Yeah.
I really expect them to be back at that. Texas, I'll say I do love Tyrese Hunter. I think Tyrese Hunter, to me, if he went into the draft this year, to me, he probably would have been the best, or I'll say he would have been the best point guard in the class. And
yeah,
I just don't like their roster. But, yeah, I'll go with Baylor.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Texas always lets you down.
Yeah.
It just feels like they always let you down. I know it's different cultures and all that, but yeah, it's hard to me to have faith in Tech, even though they got some guys there. Yeah, they got themselves a pretty dynamic freshman too in Dylan Mitchell. So they got some talent there, but it's just hard to. But and TCU, man, I really want TCU to. They got to me, like I said, I gloat over Mike Miles. Like he's just, to me, he's what you want, on your team, and he's someone I think is going to be in the play of the year discussions. When the college season comes to an end, like he's going to be there. And Jamie Dixon's done some really great things, and he's bringing it back. A lot of scores, a lot of his roster back, which is one of the keys. Like we talk about veterans in tournament and all that. So that's why I think I like TCU. But like I said, Baylor, man, what he's done with that program was dead at one point. That was a dead program. Like, I don't know if you remember, like some of the stuff they went through, even like in like the 2000s, or like that whole big that murder that happened with that. Like they went through a lot of stuff, and it just felt like it was that program will never ever recover.
Here are some results from the web.
Yeah, see, Siri is even getting hyped about it, but like they went through some stuff, and for him to take a Baylor, a program that may have been dead in the water, and turn them around, I just trust him. You just trust coaches, the certain coaches, like you don't, even though the rosters and it can be, there's a lot of turnaround, but you're like, I just trust him, and he's getting there. He's one of those coaches that I feel like I just trust, and that's why I think I got Baylor. But how many teams do you think could come out of this conference and get to the tournament? Because I think, just looking off the top of my head, I think you could get 6 to 7 teams coming out of the Big 12.
Yeah, so if I had to list them, of course, we just mentioned Baylor, TCU, Texas Tech, Texas, Kansas, 5. Let's see, you still got Oklahoma, West Virginia. Oklahoma State, I think it should get there. They have the guard play to get there. So I'll go Oklahoma State at 6. I said, Kansas State. Give Kansas State some time. Jerome Tang's gonna do a good job there. Give them some time and they'll figure out, but not this year, of course. But yeah, I think 6 or 7 should be right. Like, if I'm looking at it, I'm trying to think. I feel like I'm leaving somebody out, but I think 6 or 7 is probably it. Oklahoma, I'm kind of skeptical with them this year, but I think 6 or 7 is about right.
It just, isn't it crazy that West Virginia, like just a few years ago, was like a team. I had West Virginia win the national championship when they had Deuce there. I had them win the Natty that year, and now they're, Bob Huggins. It's like, oh, maybe it's, rough year last year. Is it time? New face. Bob Huggins. He's one of those coaches too, like one of those, like those buzz, like we mentioned before, like one of those coaches that can, can turn the program around. but can he take that team over the hump? And down season, West Virginia, I think they're predicted to finish at last or second to last in the Big 12, and like that's a program that's usually really good, and they're in flux. So, but yeah, I could definitely see 6-7 teams coming out of the Big 12 for sure. So, Big 12 always gonna be fun. Always, they have, maybe 2 to 3 potential national champion, caliber teams, and that's what and maybe 4, if Texas lives up to its expectations and all. But they're a conference that's can maybe get 2 number 1. Like I think Baylor's going to be in that number 1, in the number 1 line. I think and that's something we'll dive into the next show, who we think will be our 4 number 1s and all that. Yep. But yeah, I love Baylor, Keontae George, Elder Cryer. They got some guys there that I really like, and the coaches as good as you get in college basketball. So Big 12 is gonna be a lot of fun this year.
And that's why I'm high on the conference too. Real quickly, is that look at the past 3 national championship games, if I'm not mistaken. This past year, Kansas cut down the nets. Last year before that, Baylor cut down the nets. The year before that was COVID, whatever tournament didn't happen. But before that, in 2019, Texas Tech made a run, and they went to the national championship game. So, like, they're consistently getting in the tournament and making deep runs. And, again, being in the national championship game, that's all you got to say about that. That's 3 different schools I just named that were in 3 different national championships within the last 4 years. Like, that should tell you everything you need to know about the Big 12.
The Big 12, and everyone talks about the Big 12 with football and all that. But, man, Big 12 basketball, it is a problem, and it's real. And like I said, I hope with all the transitions, but losing OU and Texas going to SEC, but like you say, they can't Houston. Now we always do think about it in football terms, like, oh man, they're losing OU and Texas, and you think football, but basketball, that's like, well, OU hasn't really lived up to expectations, like what they should be on the basketball court, and Texas too. Like Texas has been getting some good recruiting classes, especially when they had Shaka, they were getting top 3 recruiting classes, they weren't living up. But you get Houston. I mean, we talked about Houston on the last show. Houston's another team on the number 1 line. Ralph said he's done. Kevin Sam's done a good job there. So it's like, that might be a good return and all that. So, but yeah, Big 12. Baylor, Kansas, Texas, TCU. Those are the top dogs out there, and it's gonna be fun to watch them ball out there. It's gonna be really fun. Really fun Big 12 basketball this year. Can't wait. I can't wait for basketball, man. Period, bro. I'm excited. All right, so let's get into some of our sophomores that we're looking forward to this year, and just a couple guys I have, and we kind of wanted to talk about Creighton because we're really in love with Creighton. So I'm going to mention some of the Creighton guys that I like, because this is probably why most of America likes him. Obviously, Ryan, the Nemhard family, man, like they got some hoopers.
Point guard.
They got a point guard factory in that family. Got Trey Alexander out of Kaluma, man. Kaluma, to me, I think it's him. I think he's gonna win the Big East Player of the Year. I know. I said my guy Dama from UConn, but I'm changing my mind. I'm not changing. It's gonna be the fact that Creighton's gonna win the Big East, but he's gonna be special this year. But just some guys I'm gonna list off, some sophomores last year. Harrison Ingram from Stanford, someone who I thought was a top 45 guy going to the draft last year. Showed some scoring ability, decided to come back. Didn't have the greatest of combine, so decided to come back, which is smart. Hey, now you can go from you can be able to make money in college, and you could raise up your draft stock. To me, that's very smart, very smart. Gonzaga's got a few guys too. Hunter Salas, Nolan Hickman, 2 freshmen that were highly recruited last year, got lost in the shuffle last year, but this year should absolutely blossom this year. Jordan Hawkins going from Gonzaga, who was a top recruit going to UConn. So Matthew Cleveland's another one. So those are just a few guys I had listed. Who are some sophomores that you're looking forward to watching this year?
I'm going back to Creighton, Omaha, Nebraska. The biggest one to me, or probably second one, because I'm biased a little bit. Trey Alexander, man, like that
Trey.
dude, for him to be as a freshman, he watches his running mate Ryan Nembhard break his wrist last year. He's playing shooting guard, and then his coach comes to him and asks him to play point guard. And for him to come in and kind of make that transition look seamless and effortless says everything you need to know about him. Originally from Oklahoma City, he was actually originally committed to Auburn. I know Auburn fans would love to have him right now because respectfully, he's better than all the guards they got down there right now. 6'5" shooting guard, can score from anywhere. I've been saying he's an NBA player for the past few years now. I think a lot of people are starting to realize that, and he's only going to get better and better. Like you mentioned, with Nembhard, Kaluma, adding in Baylor Sharman, bringing back Ryan Kalkbrenner, Big East Defensive Player of the Year. I know we said we'll talk about Creighton, but with that nucleus, I think Trey Alexander is going to shine. I think he's probably the best scorer on the roster. Him or Kaluma, maybe Sharman, but Trey Alexander is just that dude. And then going to my ends, my Michigan State Spartans, the name I want you guys to remember is Jaden Akins. A lot of people have been super high on him. I've been high on him, watching him back when he was in high school. I felt like if COVID didn't happen, a lot of people would have known about him a lot more because that would have been his 17U year on the EYBL. Special lefty, 6'3", can play the point guard or the shooting guard. He got the off the dribble three. He got the catch and shoot three. He defends his butt off. Coach Izzo himself admitted that he should have played more last year, which for reasons I don't know, but he's hurt right now. He will be back by the beginning of the season. He didn't play in our scrimmage this past weekend versus Tennessee, but he will be back. I'm telling y'all right now, that is a dude who is going to shoot up NBA draft boards. I promise, on everything that I love. Not even just me being biased and being a Michigan State fan, but just watching this dude. He could have went anywhere. I think his other choices out of high school were like Florida, Michigan, and Mississippi State. He could have went anywhere and been nice. And then my last one, I'll finish with this, is Deron Holmes from Dayton. Deron Holmes, man, originally from Arizona, was a monster last year at 6'11". Like, he can just do a little bit of everything. Can space the floor, can post up, can play within the offense. Doesn't got to be the main guy to have an impact on the game. Plays winning basketball. He was skinny as I don't know what last year, and I can't even imagine what he's going to look like this year, putting on weight, getting stronger, understanding the physicality of the college basketball game. Like, that dude is the main reason I'm high on Dayton this year. And, of course, Malachi Smith, who's from New York, too, he's really good, too. He's going to have a big-time sophomore year as well. So, like, when I look at Dayton, the reason I'm high on them is because of that sophomore class that they have returning. They should be one of the best duos in the country to me. And so Deron Holmes is a dog. That's another one. He's not on a lot of NBA draft boards right now, but I promise you, come December/January, they're gonna start talking about him.
No, they better be, because what are they cooking in Mount Verdi that they just be they just got, like, it's crazy the talent. Like, I know they got a few schools, but like, I don't know, the water in there in Florida is rich because they just producing, talent after talent after talent. It's really impressive, like, what they doing over there. Like, but yeah, he's someone to definitely watch out for. And there's a lot of guys, like, and a lot of these guys, dabbled into the draft last year. And I think one of the positives about NIL is that it gives kids, everybody wants to make the league, right? We all know that. Yep. But now there's that fallback. Like, okay, let me dabble in the draft. Let me see where I'm at. All right, I don't like where I'm at. I'm going to be top 50. I'm going to be outside second round. I'm just going to go back to college. I got this NIL money. Boom. I still get money. So I'm not losing out like in the past where you put your name in or, you're screwed. You're going to go back to school. You're not going to make no money. Now it gives kids an opportunity to at least come back. So that's why we're seeing a lot of these freshmen that probably would have just, been screwed or whatever. They, give them a second opportunity, make some money and get a higher draft stock. So there's a bunch of, sophomores that Efton Reed, he was he's going to Gonzaga. He's going to be backing up, but he might be one of the best 6-man in the country. Obviously Drew Timme is going to be there, and Drew Timme is Drew Timme. He's a legend and, player of the year type player, but he's going to play. He's going to play a lot. And I think that's why people might like this Gonzaga team, because, like I said, they got a lot of these freshmen, that may have been didn't play a lot last year and didn't get enough time, that, if they blossom and if they play up to what you expect them, that you, along with the veteran they got, that they can do some stuff in Gonzaga. So that's gonna be interesting. But there's a lot of talent. There's a lot of talent out there that I like that. It's
I
gonna
got
be
one
all
more
right,
for you real quickly.
shoot.
I want y'all to remember this name too. Sleeper hasn't been talked about that much. He was kind of highly recruited or rated, shall I say, but he wasn't getting talked about as much as he should have. Jalen Tyson. He was at Texas last year. He transferred to Texas Tech this year. I've heard a lot of good things about him coming into the summer, and they say he's supposed to be one of their best players this year. 6'6", big body wing. He's from Plano, so he's from Texas. Remember that name. That's another one I want y'all to remember because I thought the fit at Texas was kind of weird last year because they brought in so many transfers that it was kind of unfair as a freshman. But at Texas Tech, they're saying he's that dude, and he should be getting the ball in his hands from day one. So remember Jalen Tyson. That's another name to watch out for.
Definitely gotta be a lookout for him. Definitely on the lookout for him. All right, so we're gonna get a few more before we wrap it up. Another great show. We just got a few more things I want to ask you about, and kind of some newsworthy things. Obviously, we could do a whole show on Kanye alone because what we've seen from Kanye, bro, that's an adventure. That's a 3-day pod alone. Like what Kanye is gonna. But we're not gonna dive into what Kanye has done or said, but more of like the ramifications of what he has said and how it's affecting the Donda Academy. And we've talked about that. Like they got some serious hoopers, but with everything going on with him, and he's losing a lot of deals, and unfortunately, one of the deals is his school. Now I've heard some rumor that they might just like the school is going to be completely just that's it, it's done. K through 12 is done, which means that the basketball team, and they were replaced in a lot of tournaments, and now there's rumors that kind of a lot of their players are kind of being kind of blackballed in a way, which I think is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
That because it's his words, not theirs. They're hooping. They're players,
Exactly.
they're students and all that, and the fact that those kids have to suffer because of this, for Kanye's words, I think is really, really disappointing, and I hope something gets figured out with that because it's the basketball season's here, and I want to get your thoughts on another situation too with what happened in New York City with Manhatten, and they fired their coach, and now their whole school. I don't know if you heard about that, but that's another. But the Donda Academy stuff. Just give me your quick thoughts on that situation, and because it's a really unfortunate what's happening. Like I said, and it's not just it's Kanye, but they got legit hoopers. Like they got I think they got 3 or 4 top 50 guys who are 5 stars, and a bunch of 4 stars and kids on the come up that are going to be getting, legit offers from big time programs. Like, just give me your thoughts on that whole situation because it's kind of wild.
You said it yourself, super unfortunate. And my thing with it is kind of, shout out to Jaylen Brown. He's kind of been in defense of the school, even though, of course, he parted ways with Ye and Donda. He was saying that, like, because he's been there, like, it's a real school. And I've been trying to tell people that, like, I know it just sounds crazy. It just sounds like thrown together. But
Yeah,
I've heard from a few people that they actually, like, are a real deal school. I don't think they're officially accredited, but they run it just like
I don't think they're accredited yet, but it is as real as you can get if
Exactly. And so for them to just do this, like, it's one thing to cancel everything kind of going on. Like you said, we could talk about that for whatever. I've honestly haven't even talked about it because it just is what it is at this point. But for them to impact people that don't even really have anything to do with it, it's just like, come on now, what are we really doing, man? Like, y'all already did all this other stuff, but like, it's kids that are really trying to go to college and different things like that. And these dudes are literally, like you said, they're 1 to 2 weeks away from their season. They already started playing games, but their official games are here. And they just hired, earlier in the summer, they hired Darrell Wright, longtime NBA player. And
yeah.
this was his first year going into this, and now it's just like he might not even be a coach anymore. He just got in, or he's been coaching, but at the high school level, like he just got in, and it's already like it might be over. And on our next topic, I was going to talk about one of the players. AJ Johnson is a dog. Like, he's younger brother of Jalen Green. They're not blood related, but they grew up around each other. He's from Fresno too. One of my favorite players in the country, 6'6". I think he's either going to end up going to Louisville or the G League, which, of course, Jalen Green did, but he's a killer. Rob Dillingham, everybody's been seeing his viral clips lately versus Overtime Elite. He's committed to Kentucky. And JJ Taylor, kind of a dude that was rated super high for a long time, but kind of it was one of them things where he kind of like they over sensationalize him. He's good. I don't want to make him like he's weak, but like they gas him up a lot, and then like the rest of the class is kind of caught up to him. And there's nothing wrong with that. That happens. It is what it is. But he still got big time offers. Like at a point, Kentucky was trying to get him. All the top schools were trying to get him, and he's still gonna play D1 ball. And so like for this to happen, man, again, it's super unfortunate. I just think the timing of it, just like the Manhattan situation, is the worst possible timing you could have. And we just got to do better, man, because even though the school is built off of Kanye's back, technically, it's not just Kanye. It's real kids that are going to the school. It's real teachers that are employed, getting paid.
Exactly.
That just like
Exactly.
that's what we have to understand. So it all around it's just a terrible situation. I don't know what people are thinking, but they need to really get a grip and get it together because Kanye is his own separate entity. And these are real people going to school every single day, waking up early, just like the rest of us do. So they got to get it together, man.
Yeah, see whatever Kanye does with and losing whatever deals, it's whatever because that it affects other people that he works with him, but that's more of direct to him.
Yep.
When it gets to this is where I have a real issue.
Me too.
And yes, a lot of things he said is crazy and all that, but it's like, all right, whatever. That affects his own pockets. But when now you get to the kids and you're affecting kids and kids trying to go to better themselves and right, because Kanye said he's for the people, right? He's for the people. Well, guess what you're doing? You're affecting people, the young people too, that are trying to get to that next level, to get to college, right? Or pursue their dreams to play at the NBA. Now you're affecting that. And that's the issue I have with this. Now, to me, I have a real issue with the whole Kanye stuff is because now it affects us. Because now you're taking these moments they're going to have. The basketball season is here. Like it's around the block. And now you're affecting their chances to play in these tournaments and all that, get more exposure. And now they might even have a season and all that. Like it's kind of wild what's going on. And I hope this gets resolved quick. But this is now it's getting messy with him. And I think that's the problem. I think you hear a lot of people, oh, I don't care about what he said or what he's done. And that's fine because, it's whatever with Kanye. But now I think now you see a lot of people like, oh, wait up. Now you're messing with kids and affecting kids and their education and their chances to better their future. Now I have a problem.
Like
it's crazy. Like that's the biggest issue I have. It's like with him. It's like now you don't realize, the whole freedom of speech stuff, blah blah blah. Like, well, guess what? With that comes consequences for what you say, and this is the consequences. Like, I don't care that he lost Adidas. I don't care. That man has enough money that he'll be all right.
Exactly.
The biggest is an issue where you affect kids, their futures, and all that. I haven't, and most people are having an issue. And now it's like, okay, you done really messed up, Kanye. You messed up your own money. Nobody cares. Nobody's crying for you with that.
Yeah.
Now you're messing with kids' futures. That's where a lot of people are gonna have issues with it.
I can't even come back at you with that because you hit on the head. Like that's exactly how I feel, man. Like it's not just about him, and I know he probably knows that to a certain extent, but again, this is about the kids. This is about the future. You know what I'm saying? Like we got to do a better job. It's just in life, like of valuing our kids and valuing what they do and who they're gonna become. Like, and
Crazy.
I'm just at a point where it's just like, this is ridiculous, dog. Like again, I haven't even commented on the situation because I really don't care that much personally. Like people just let it get mad at everything nowadays. And I'm not saying what he said was right by any means, but
exactly.
I'm just like, don't feed into that sometimes. It's cool to ignore people sometimes if y'all didn't know. But like now it's at a point where again, like these are real kids, dog. Like they're just trying to enjoy high school. And you gotta think too at the same time, these are kids that were in high school during COVID. If you're a senior, you missed a year of high school because of COVID. And now it's just like, dog, they might not even have it just because some person said something that people didn't like. And I'm just like, this is getting out of hand, man. It is one thing, but now this to close down the school, dog. Like, come on, what are we really doing here?
Yeah, it's definitely disappointing with that, but and now the Manhatten stuff, and if people don't know what happened with Manhatten, so like they fired their head coach I think a day or 2 days ago,
Yep.
and which is unprecedented to do that right before the season starts. And now there's chaos because the players went on social media and expressed their frustration, like, you know, you're firing the coach, with the season's about to start and you're firing the coach right now. And the Jaspers were like, projected to win the conference too. So it's not like they were just
Hmm.
based. They were supposed to be a legit team. So to me, another crazy situation. Like, how do you decide to fire your coach a week, and now everyone's in the transfer portal, so you might not have a roster, Kev. Like, they might not have a roster to fill out. Everyone's in the transfer portal. It's unreal. Like, I don't get what happened. I haven't seen exactly why he was let go, but to me, it's like, all right, if you knew you were going to fire him for whatever, like, shouldn't it have been done like after the season, like the season's concluded, so like you can find your next head coach and not have this. Now you're a week and a half out before the season starts, and it's you're in chaos, and now I heard like 10 guys are entering the transfer. It's ridiculous. It's wild. Jose Perez was the player, is
Yep.
their best player, and now he's in the transfer portal, and now he's going to get offered. But now it's you screw those players, because now I'm not sure how it works. I mean, a lot of teams they got all their spots filled up, so there's no way he could play right now. So it's like he's entering the transfer portal, and he's already a redshirt senior, I believe. A lot of these guys are seniors and all that. So is that it? Are they not allowed to play? Are you giving them another year of eligibility? Remember, a lot of these guys lost to
Yeah.
COVID, like COVID year.
Hmm.
It's like, how does this happen? And you're going to lose a lot of your good players. You're projected to win the conference. Like, the Jaspers was supposed to win their conference, and now you got your whole roster in the transfer portal. It's one of the most bizarre things I've seen. And like, I thought that we got the Donda Academy stuff, and then that it's like some bizarre things happening right now in college basketball. But like, just give me your thoughts on that, because I couldn't believe when I saw the reports.
So my thing with that is that unless the coach is just absolutely terrible, which I don't think in this case it was, it's never really a right time to fire a college coach, because
No.
like, for the most part, like, especially in this instance, like, I understand, firing them right after the season, that's fine. You give the new coach a chance, get the search firm, give the new coach a chance to get some transfers, whatever. But to fire a coach 2 weeks before the start of the season,
Yep.
that's not even just a bad look on the basketball program. That's a terrible look for the school as a whole, because
Yep.
now it's probably some dudes that are looking at like, why would I even want to go there now in the future too? So it's like, I need to do some more research to really figure out what happened, because I'm pretty sure it's out there somewhere. But just looking at it from a bird's eye view, it's terrible. Like, dog, like, Jose Perez is a player too, by the way. If you haven't watched him,
Oh,
go watch him.
yeah.
And I've seen it's been a few coaches that have reached out. I've seen DePaul reached out, TCU, Georgia Tech, NC State. So he'll be at a better program, within the coming months or whatever. But like, dog, like, again, like you said, if y'all had even the littlest inkling that you guys were gonna fire him, you should have done that months ago. Because now you put your players in such an unfair situation that it's like, some of those dudes, as much as I don't want to admit this, it's a chance that some of those dudes go into the transfer portal and they just stay there and they never find another home. They never find another school. You know what I'm saying? And
That's
that's
the thing. Like, you can go be in the transport. It doesn't mean you're gonna get picked up. Like you said, you
exactly.
could be there forever, and that's it. And a lot of
Exactly.
these guys, that might be the situation. So that might be it. Their college basketball career could be over because you fired the coach. And to me, and there's no, just for like this, there could be more, but from what I read, the only thing is that it's his last year of his contract. I mean, this is a guy who's been there for over 10 years, and there's no reports of like misconduct or any allegations or anything. Like, he didn't get there's nothing. So it's legit. They just fired him. So obviously they have a reason. I don't know what. I'm sure that hopefully we'll find out why, because it's kind of bizarre you would do this, but it's wild what they did. It's really crazy what they did, man.
It's just stupid, man.
I don't get it.
No
I don't
explanation.
get it.
I mean, again, I don't know the whole story, so I'm not gonna say it like that. But just the timing, man, is just it's ridiculous. It's like they don't even think about the player sometimes.
No, and maybe there's got to be something to it. I don't know. I'm not gonna speculate what, but just from what I read, there's nothing tied to it. There's no other. So like, there's something had to have happened. But still, to do this, just a week and a half away from the season, it's kind of wild. And then now you're gonna lose your best player. The face who just transferred there not too long ago. Like, and I was preseason player, MAC player of the year. Like, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. I don't know what's going on in Manhattan. This is what we got to fix. New York City basketball, man. It's too much going on, man. We got to fix it. It's a lot of teams are down right now, but it's definitely wild. It's definitely wild. But I don't know. I don't know what happened. Hopefully we'll get more news, and if we do get more news, we'll definitely chime in on the next pod. But it's crazy how that happens. I just don't get how you think that's smart to do that. But I don't know, Kev. That's I don't think I've ever seen that happen in college basketball. Like, it just doesn't make sense because nobody wins in this situation. Everybody loses.
Exactly, and they just got to figure it out, man. I'm wishing the best for all them players, man, because that's just terrible.
Yeah, definitely wishing for the players and all that, but tough situation. All right, we're gonna finish off with our last thing, and we'll do something a little fun. We're gonna pick our starting five this year. We're gonna pick our best five, and then we'll post on the poll some on Twitter or something, see who you think got the best team. But we're gonna pick our best starting fives out of the players playing college basketball this year. So we're gonna pick 2 guards, 2 forwards, a center. Is that cool?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'll give you the first pick. You go first.
I'm gonna go with your boy, straight from your way, out of North Carolina, RJ Davis, as my point guard. I think he's destined to have a big year. A lot of people love to talk about Baycott and Caleb Love, but to me, RJ Davis is just as important as anybody on the North Carolina roster this year.
Okay. RJ Davis. Okay. All right. RJ Davis. All right. So my pick is up. I'm gonna go. All right. RJ Davis. Oh man. Let's see. Do I get a big? Let's see. You know what? I'm going with my guy. TCU legend Mike Miles. Taking my guy. All right. Going Miles. You go.
Shooting guard. Talked about him earlier. I got to go with Trey Alexander. I think destined for a big year, big time bucket getter, can play the point guard and, most importantly, play his own position, can defend his butt off too. And as we mentioned, he's a future NBA player.
Okay. All right. Trey Alexander. All right. All right. Oh, Arthur Kluma. There we go. That's my guy. Arthur Kluma. My pick.
I'm going to go for my small forward spot. Another guy I mentioned earlier, out of Akron. Shout out to LeBron. Ali Butler came over from Akron.
Okay.
And he's going to have a big-time season again. Remember that name? I know I've been saying that a couple different times, but 6'8" dude that can just score from anywhere. He got NBA range, can play inside or out. Dog, real-life dog.
Okay. All right. Let's see. All right. So I got someone in my guard. I got a forward. You know what? College basketball is about getting rebounds, point guard play. I got the point guard play. I'm gonna go overlap. I'm gonna go Drew Timmy.
Good pickup.
I'm gonna go with Drew Timmy. Get that vet. You need vets. You need point guard play, big man play to win it. So I'm gonna go with Drew Timmy.
At my 4, I think I'm gonna go with a small ball 4 here. And I'm debating between 2 former Texas Tech Red Raiders. But I'm gonna go with I wanted to go with Kevin McCullough, but I'm gonna go with Terrence Shannon Jr. I think Terrence Shannon
Ooh.
at the 4. I need some defense on that wing. He can lock up, he can play make. Not the greatest shooter, but he gets the job done on defense, so he can play for me any day of the week.
Yeah, he was a big reason why Texas Tech had that number 1 defense last year. I mean, Texas Tech was really good defensively last year.
Yep.
And he was someone that put his name in the draft a few times. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to see how he plays this year. Okay. Let's see. Do I get some youth? Do I get some freshmen? Do I keep going the vet way? Let's see. Man, this is tough. Okay. I'm gonna go. Oh, I'm gonna pick a freshman.
Okay.
You know what? It pains me that I'm not gonna take a Dookie. I'm not gonna take a Duke Blue Devil. Pains me that I'm not to do this, but I just raved about him before. Taking Keontae.
I'm not mad at that whatsoever.
Taking Keontae. So we got
I
a
am not.
nice blend of youth. We got a nice blend of youth and some vets on this team. So yeah, take Keontae George. I was thinking maybe one of the Arkansas dudes, one of the Duke guys, but
Mm-hmm.
I like Keontae a lot. I'm gonna take Keontae.
Oh man,
All
this one
right,
is
round out this
tough.
5.
Yeah, at the 5. So I got what? I got man at the 5. I think I'm gonna just man. I want a shot blocker, but I also it's hard to pass up on All Americans, So
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go with Armando Bacot. Why not? Pair him up with RJ Davis. So I got what? RJ Davis, Trey Alexander, Ali, Terrence Shannon Jr., and we could pair him with Armando Bacot. I like that 5 a lot.
Okay. That's a nice 5. Got Timmy versus Bacon. Okay, you got some nice matchups.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Move around us. So I got my backcourt. I need another big. I don't want to go too big though. I don't want to clog up the paint. So, oh man, this is tough.
You got a few options out there.
You know what? I think I might have to go with another freshman.
Another one?
I think I might have to go with another freshman.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm gonna go with another. I'm going with Jerice Walker.
Oh, okay.
I'm
That's a
going
good
with
one
him.
too. That's a good one.
I think he fits perfect. I was thinking of the dude from DJ Jackson, but I'll go Jerice.
Yep.
Go him. So that's my 5. So my 5 is Mike Miles, Kaluma, Timmy, George, Jerice Walker. That's my 5.
I like that.
I like
I
that.
like
Going against yours, it's gonna be tough though, because you got some big boys, you got some physical defenders. So that'd be a fun like little national natty. We do the
Yep.
national championship, So I think we can like poll that up before we drop the episode and all that, and see what who people like and all that. Make an image and all that. I'll work on that, but
Yep.
that was fun. And but that's going to conclude the episode, man. Episode 2. Get a Bucket Podcast. Me, Chris. That's Kev. Fun episode, bro. It's just I look forward to these. I got like 4 pages of notes. I don't even write that many notes for my own show and all that. But episode 2 in the books, brother.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate y'all for all tuning in. Let's keep growing. Let's keep expanding. And season's right around the corner, man. I cannot wait for the first games to tip off.
Oh yeah. And can't like I said, season's what 10, 11 days. By the time this job will be like 10 days away. As we get inching closer and closer, we're gonna be diving into more stuff. Some more teams. We already decided we're talking about Creighton next episode, so that might just be a Creighton episode and all that. So that's pretty dope. So but yeah, appreciate everyone for listening. I didn't even get to drop the see, I was so into this episode, I forgot to even do the sponsor drop. Shout out to our guy Seat Geek, our people at Seat Geek who sponsored this sponsor the podcast. Seat Geek, make sure to go SeatGeek.com, promo code Off the Ball Network, get $20 off any concert, cost basketball season, save it up, $20 off, go to any game you want. So use the promo code Off the Ball Network. But next episode 3, we're gonna be talking Creighton basketball and a lot more stuff. So follow me at Off the Ball Pod on Twitter. That's where I'm most active. Kev, tell them where they can find you.
Yeah, man, on Twitter at Easy Money Kev 7, exactly how it's spelled out. Instagram is at KevoBands. That's KEVOO_BANDZZ. And again, man, I appreciate you guys.
Yes, sir. So make sure to follow us on social media. That's where we're most active: Instagram, Twitter, and we'll let you guys in to what where we're going to drop the next episode and all that. But like I said, appreciate everyone who's tuning in. Appreciate everyone who's give the positive feedback off the first episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode just as much enjoyed the first one. And make sure to leave 5 stars on Apple. I think Spotify got a rating system now too. So if they got ratings, drop a 5-star. That helps out the pod and all that, grow that. So also I host the Off the Ball podcast. Make sure to check out that. Got some stuff coming out this week. But on that note, be well, be safe, take care. Get a Bucket Podcast.